Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. You know what? Actually, I'm going to do an early drink reveal. It's a celebration.
Yeah, we should.
Let's start
Celebration.
It is. This is my favorite holiday IPA. Well, here, I'm going to save this for the pod. Do you want to start?
This is the pod. We're just starting now.
All right, here we go.
We've already started.
Okay. First and foremost, Adam and Paige, welcome in. No puns allowed. Routine change. Now, I do have a lock. I have one pick and pint / lock. But first and foremost, Celebration IPA. My favorite seasonal beer. You've got wine. Like, people already know that we're recording at this, like, at an off time where we normally record. But this is a delicious IPA. Paige, cheers. We made it. End of the regular season.
End of the regular season. I'm going to show you the bottle. I've got the bottle here. This is a local winery. This is Wenti. This is a GSM. And as I picked my wine out today, I was like, I probably should have got one that I like understood the like percentage of things that are in it. So I'm not even going to try to say what this is a mix of, but it's excellent. And shout out Wenti because they literally sponsor my life.
It also looks a little empty. Just saying. It looking a little...
Seeing as we were supposed to record an hour ago. To be fair.
That's my bad.
I literally was like, Adam's running a tad behind. I was like, oh, we're like 10 minutes away. I'll pour my glass of wine. I'll start drinking. And then Adam's like, hey, by the way, we got to delay it a little bit. And I was like, just heads up. We started. We can't stop, you know?
There have been cocktails. I can say this. Normally, when we record a pod, the cocktails start. You drink water or something very responsible. But tonight, this is a celebration. This is kind of the couch version. We're going to break down bowls. We're going to get into the playoff, which we're going to do like today. But bowls, I love the bowl season. I want to start off with a little mini rant. I want to break.
Yes.
I am so tired of people complaining about the bowl season.
Being like there's too many.
Yes, then don't watch.
Those people are the worst.
Gives a shit?
If someone says that, cut them out of your life.
Yeah, you've got a lot of shit to do right now, friend. You can shop, you can drink, you can watch other shit. Like, you do not need this in your life. I love this. It's a wonderful way to gamble. It's a wonderful way to enjoy the sport. You got people that are like closing out their careers. You got interim coaches. You got players opting out. I actually love the chaos of bowl season. So for one, am embracing this. If you don't like bowl season, go watch the NBA. Go watch whatever you want to watch, but don't complain about it. All right, I'm sorry.
Yeah, don't say that there's too many. There's 44 bowls, and if you have a problem with that, you can just get out.
All right. Now, with
get that out of the way.
Your team, Alabama, is the number one team in college football. First and foremost, I'm jumping ahead a little bit. Congratulations. You were right. I was wrong. Kind of. Maybe. We'll see. TBD. But I was genuinely floored by that performance on a variety of fronts. They're the number one team, but let's talk about it. What stands out most now? We have to talk about the Georgia game, right? Because I know it's been a couple of days. I cannot get that out of my head, how dominant that was and how different that was from what I thought it was going to be.
So I have like a mini rant of my own.
Yes.
After our podcast came out last week, multiple people actually, DM'd me being like, you're such a homer. I can't believe you picked Alabama, blah, blah.
Piss off.
Here's the thing. The main point that I made when we were discussing this was that, again, the person that is coaching Alabama is Nick Saban versus Kirby Smart. And if I had to pick any day of the week, doesn't matter, superior athleticism, whatever, I'm taking Nick all day. So that is sort of, and that was one, like, let's just give a shout out to Alabama's offensive line, because that is really the main difference that we were not expecting that to happen. Watching the Auburn game to there, and even in the post-game interview, like, they specifically asked Coach Saban about that, because it's like, that was the big concern. And like I said, Alabama has never had to chase. They've never been behind. They've never had to get aggressive on offense. And
Georgia has never had to
Georgia,
chase.
Georgia, yes.
I want to make sure, because a couple of weeks ago, you called Alabama.
Slip of the tongue.
Got called out. Yeah, I got to help you out. I got to be a better team.
Yes. Right, I was talking about Alabama and I meant Clemson. It happens. So Georgia has not had to chase from behind. They haven't had to be aggressive in terms of play calling on offense. And when they were forced to, it didn't go well. And that was my point, was like, we haven't seen that. And hey, maybe they adjust and maybe they figure it out if they have to play each other again. But that performance was, one, fantastic on the side of Alabama and those players, because they heard all of the talk all week long after playing Auburn in a close game. And like Nick said, the rat poison was pretty yummy. And they ate it up, and they shut people up, and now we're back to, it's like all order has been restored in the world. Like we had like Brian Kelly leave, and we had Lincoln Riley leave and do all of this chaos, and there was like the crazy time, and then it was like Alabama's the number one team in the country. Everything is right in the world again. We're back to being in the normal space of college football.
Okay, my biggest takeaway from this is, wow. All right, I'll talk about Georgia in a little bit, but
yes.
But first off, Bryce Young was superb. Like, holy
Phenomenal.
shit, good. Like the way he used his legs, the way he extended plays, they got after him, he escaped, and then Alabama's speed. They looked a lot faster than Georgia still, and I did not think that was going to be the case. Nick Saban is a goddamn magician. Like, Dabo is on the verge of losing both coordinators. At the time we record this, and his AD. And who knows, when you're listening to this, maybe they're gone, maybe they're not. That's been Nick Saban's routine for like a decade.
Every year.
Certainly in the last 5 years. Lane Kiffin and Sark and all these people through. And to see him still do this and then smile at the end and talk about rat poison it is incredible. I don't want us. I picked Georgia. I bet Georgia. I'm still betting Georgia in the futures. We have to not take Nick Saban for granted, as weird as that sounds. Like, this greatness is so crazy when you look at what everybody's trying to do to win, pay Jimbo $155 billion, or whatever LSU wanted to offer him. Like, you see this arms race that's happening in college football, I point it right back to Nick Saban, that he has made winning at this level normal, which is it is not, and it won't be, and you're going to have a lot of shit contracts. Like, I take what happened on Saturday, and I go full big picture because that's where I end up. But in the end, he's recruited great players. They develop better than anybody. Bryce Young, who we've talked about and we've written about and we know is going to be awesome, is awesome. And now they're in a position to beat the hell out of Cincinnati. Maybe we'll talk about it and move forward. And so it's like, you're right. We are back where we started opening week, where we said, oh my God, Alabama's good again. They regressed, and then they show up. And then, Paige, the other takeaway is this, and we'll talk about it, but Kirby Smart. The reputation is he can recruit, he can develop, but then the game happens and shit hits the fan. I don't know how you can't. That reputation is alive and well as someone that bet Georgia. That was a disaster. Yeah. A disaster.
I do have to wonder, like, how long that actually lasts. Because, too, like, say they come up short this year. Kirby they've given him the time to do what he needs to do to win. And he has not proven to do that. In the nature of this game and what's been happening in terms of coaching, it just seems like at some point something has to give. Like, not to say that this, by any other standard, and Nick Saban had this rant, by any other standard, this is a success. Like, Georgia is a success. But until Nick Saban is out of the picture, like, I don't even care that Jimbo beat him this year. Like, until he is out of the picture, it's not, like, you have to sort of bring it back a little bit and be like, okay, I don't know that they beat him. I don't know that they beat Alabama in the rest of his career.
I mean, I think Georgia has a really tough game. And then if they play Alabama, like, you look at lines, they're going to be favored again, potentially. It'll probably be a coin flip game. Georgia -1 is what I saw all week.
Well, what's going to happen is people are going to think the same thing that they thought with the Oregon-Utah game. Okay, it was a fluke. Okay, they had the best game. They performed. And it wasn't, don't get me wrong, it wasn't just Georgia's offense that caused this issue, and that's why they lost. So there are a lot of things that, like, did have to go wrong on Georgia's end, and it did for Alabama to win that game. But I do think, like, going into it, people are going to be like, oh, no, Georgia's going to be fine. Now we've had it figured out. And I'm certainly not going to be on that train because, like I said, my number one rule in all of betting is do not bet against Nick Saban in Alabama and Tom Brady, of course. But it's just,
yes.
I don't know. But like you said, they have a tough game. They have a great matchup. Let's move to well, first, let me just say, I would like to be as calm as Bryce Young is at any point in life. I just need to throw that out there. Literally, like, and I used to, like, say this about Trevor Lawrence because watching him play, like, he just never got rattled, but there were certain moments where he didn't, like, really take it to the next level, especially against, like, LSU and things like that. Bryce Young took it to the next level, and I very much appreciated that performance, and it was like, he gave credit where credit was due up front. It was awesome.
He is so calm in the pocket. It's weird. It's eerie. I made this comparison, I think, in a story that, like, I'm going to sound like an old, which I am. Andrew Jones, when he used to run down center field, like just pop-ups, it looked like he was just gliding. And Bryce Young just glides around the pocket. And when it's Jordan Davis, it's all these dudes, Kobe Dean, whomever, it's like you're swimming with sharks and you're just kind of like dancing with them. It's really odd. And he makes it look, and you're watching it, and you're like, oh my God, throw the ball. And he does. One last thing about Bama. The Mechie loss, so big.
Massive.
When he was out, and now I think Alabama was sitting on the ball. Like, you can't really, I don't want to overanalyze this. Like, when he was out, the offense was stagnant. It was, but the offense was also stagnant because the offense was they scored more on Georgia in like 12 minutes than Georgia allowed in any month this year. I think that's a real thing. So I don't want to overanalyze that, but that's a position for them that's really young and really inexperienced. And I mean, holy shit, that's a big loss. But let's go playoff. Top 4. I didn't have any beef. We were a half yard or less than that from having major beef, right?
Can we talk about that game, the Big 12 championship game?
Oh my God.
Have never I've yelled at a lot of games that I have no rooting interest in. I was shouting at the top of my lungs that my dog literally left the room because he was like, what is going on? I was like, wait, they have timeouts? Wait, we're calling timeout. Wait, no, there's no timeout. Okay, no one's lined up. Wait, okay. It was just this process of just shouting. And I was like, oh no. But also I was rooting for Baylor because I bet Baylor. But still, I was like, this isn't real. This is not real life. That was a complete chaos that I don't know that we expected that game to be as exciting as it was because it was a very strange ending.
That would have given the committee the hardest decision it has ever had to make.
Yes.
It would have, and I don't know where they would have gone. Yes, with Oklahoma State and Cincinnati. Mm-hmm. What would they have picked? I think they would have picked Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma State is in. I think there's no doubt Oklahoma State is in. That said, Baylor wins its conference. And they didn't move up much at all. So maybe I'm wrong.
No.
I'm going to contradict myself.
They don't respect the Big 12. They don't. If you have the number 12
so
in your conference name, in my opinion, they would have. I think they would have done Cincinnati, which I actually saw something very interesting. So I had no beef with this top 4. This is the top 4 that I thought. I thought the positioning of those teams were perfect. But I saw that in the entire existence of the college football playoff, that they have picked the top 4 teams that would have come out if it was the BCS. So the BCS computer system, in the math of all of it, every year it is exactly that. So I think, and what's funny is we always say get rid of the people, we want the computers. They make the same decisions because I think they're still consulting that. But I think we have to listen to the conversations of the Gary Barta saying Notre Dame not having a coach would factor in them to making the playoff or things like that. And it just gets us so worked up. But really, this is the same decision that the computers would have made, which makes me even more annoyed because I'm like, okay, well, now you're just working me up by having him come on TV every week and say dumb things that make me annoyed. And it's but I mean, they got it right, in my opinion. And it was an easy choice. I don't think it was a hard choice. I don't think they were challenged this year sort of like we expected. And we kind of thought that probably was going to happen.
I hate that we are 7 years in and we've had very few, maybe one difficult-ish decision. It's kind of amazing. 7 years. The sample size is not small. Yeah. And I'm mad because I'd like to see them squirm. I want outrage. When this thing was being discussed, it was like, awesome. Let's get weird. And like, honestly, Paige, when we started this thing off, it was like, oh my God, this is going to be weird. We do it every year. I am so guilty of this where it's like, this is the year because I want to bridge chaos into my life. No, not going to
No.
happen.
And the other part is maybe when we expand it to 8 or 12, that we do get the chaos because you are going to have people that are on the fringe of those things.
Yes,
And you're not including, I mean, if you have automatic bids, it kind of takes that away a little bit because that's just, it's automatic, so it's not a big deal. But I do think some of the discussion will be a little bit more difficult if we expand. So I would say I'm in favor of expanding on that front so that we can have some form of conversation.
We are going to break these games down in excess over the next couple of weeks.
Yes.
Where are your early leans in these games? I'll give you mine. It doesn't mean we're going to stick with them. I don't want to like hold your feet to the fire. I can even go first. Spread wise, I think Alabama's going to beat Cincinnati. I think Alabama may really beat Cincinnati. I'm 10 Alabama minus 13.5 is looking good. I'm assuming that's what it is. I am really struggling with Georgia, Michigan. I like Michigan with that number. I do. I think
it opened at like 7.5, right?
Yes, and I know like Circa opened it at 9. I think Georgia's going to win. I think Michigan's going to make that game really, really tough. I cannot wait for that game.
That game is going to be excellent. I tweeted the day that all this was announced and the line came out that it was even 7, and I was like, give me Michigan. I'm going to bet all my money on Jim Harbaugh, which I never thought I would do. But here we are because I honestly believe it's going to be a gritty game. I don't think there's going to be a lot of points scored.
I've said it this week on a couple of radio interviews. This is like the best car crash you've ever seen. I love it. But like, and the other thing on this, and then we can move on. I don't want to tip our hand, but like momentum as a gambler, momentum is a weird thing to try to capture. How real is it? How real is it after a month though, right? But right now, Michigan is riding this glorious wave, and Georgia is wondering, are we playing the wrong goddamn quarterback? Which they are, by the way. Stetson Bennett looked like how I would have looked like against Alabama. Not a good thing. Looked like he wanted to be elsewhere. Just saying. I'm going to go on a rant on that next time. All right. Let's talk coaching. It does not stop, although it may stop now. We have an Oregon job.
We still have to hire an Oregon coach.
Miami situation. Hire Mario Cristobal. I think it's a really good hire. But the process was a disaster. Now you have to, like, your job is to craft and position content to cover these things, right? So how in your job are you covering what the hell happened with Miami?
I was so uncomfortable because I thought that like I was missing something. I was like, okay, did they fire Manny? Like, did they fire him and I just missed it? And it was like, I'm getting alerts of like, they're like going after Mario Cristobal and they're working into a deal. This is what they're offering him. He has until Monday to decide, blah, blah. And I'm like, they still have a coach. Like, they still have a head coach. And this is like fully being reported by like the best in the business reporting these things. This isn't just like a rumor that that's their number one candidate. And then it's like, oh, by the way, he's hired. Oh, yeah, we did fire Manny, by the way. It's like an afterthought. And I'm like, first of all, Manny Diaz, if you would like to come on this podcast and we will drink and just like have like a therapy sesh, we can do that. Because I feel like that is and the worst part was when I was tweeting about it, people were like, oh, maybe he'll stay on as like a defensive coordinator. I'm like, I'm sorry. That's like basically this is literally what the scenario is. This is like you have a boyfriend and your boyfriend starts dating someone else, doesn't break up with you, and then it's like, oh, by the way, I break up with you, but like let's still be friends and like let's all hang out. No, like that, no. There was no world. I'm sorry, I hate still Miami fans. There was no world that Manny Diaz was staying around. Like, you don't like, has it ever happened in college football where someone takes like a demotion that way? Like, no.
Like, just no.
So uncomfortable.
The conversation surrounding Manny Diaz was interesting because, let's go back. He took the Temple job for about a minute and then left when he got the now. So people are like, citing this. Miami fans, by the way, are feisty. Those motherfuckers. I mean, they are like even jokes. They are not up for any sort of humor on this. And like, I get it. It's been a
No.
rough stretch. But they are like, that was kind of a surprise because I heard a lot of shit over the last couple of days from Miami fans, like real bad. Now, I get it. Manny Diaz was Temple and then he left. This profession sucks. I get it. It still doesn't change the fact that Miami screwed this whole thing up. Now, the end result, I think, is quite good. I like Mario Cristobal. By the way, watching him speak Spanish was after Brian Kelly's yeehaw, motherfucker. Like, I mean, that was spectacular. We have to talk about that too, right? Like, can we take a real quick time out?
I can't make fun of him. I say y'all, and it's only because I work in college football.
No, I get to a college town, and I feel like when I leave,
you talk in a Southern accent.
But still, it's not in front of a goddamn stadium full of people.
I would. I can't make fun. You can totally.
My family.
You can literally make fun of him. I legitimately can't because I all of a sudden turn like I'm from the South. I go to Alabama for like a day and I'm like, hey y'all, what are we doing? How you are?
By the way, he's made by the way, he's made some great hires. Brian Kelly's going to be fine, but we can shit on his accent because Mario Cristobal comes in.
People are still leaving. There are a lot of people still leaving LSU, so I don't believe that he's totally going to be fine.
I think he's going to be good. But that being said, Mario Cristobal, Spanish.
Mario Cristobal, great hire.
I was like, I love it. No, you know what I love? This is the no-brainer hire that they're paying him a shit ton of money. Okay. Actually, let me give Mario Cristobal another shout out. He leaves Oregon. It's clearly a hard decision. One of the reasons it was hard on Manny Diaz because Cristobal didn't know what to do. He goes on local radio and makes an appearance and says, this is the hardest thing I've ever had to do. He sounds like he's dying inside. Like, he sounded genuinely distraught. Talks about his connections. I don't know how much that goes, but like I listened to his interview and I thought like he came off genuine. I do think that would be really hard, and I think it's a great hire. And of course, he loves Florida. He loves Miami. Of course, he's going to love this job. So I thought the whole situation, as weird and kind of abrupt as the Brian Kelly thing was, and as weird as prolonged as this thing was, I thought it ended up quite nicely.
So I don't mind
except for Manny Diaz.
I do, poor Manny Diaz, because I feel like that was tough. And I mean, in Miami's defense, they didn't really have an AD, but like figure it out. But I will say one of the things that sort of it not surprised me, but just like a sort of a reality check for like Pac-12 fans, Oregon fans, is that like Oregon is not necessarily the job that it used to be when Chip Kelly left. Because here's the thing.
Yes.
With NIL and the amount of money that like these players are going to be able to make other places, like before going to Oregon was basically you're going to be in contact with Nike people. You're going to be surrounded by Nike stuff. The stadium's nice. The facilities are nice. It's Oregon, right? And it's basically Nike. But now it's like, okay, everyone is building those nice facilities. Everyone is able to give you money now in terms of NIL, and you're basically like in a good position to make money for the future and setting you up because it starts earlier. So Oregon's appeal to me, I'm not saying that like, oh, this is the end of Oregon and they're not going to be dominant in the Pac-12. I mean, you have to go through Lincoln Riley now. I don't think it was about Lincoln Riley because I think Mario Cristobal wasn't afraid of him. I think it was more because personally, like if they expand the playoff and Mario Cristobal's only loss was to Lincoln Riley in a Pac-12 championship, I think he still gets in. You know what I mean? Like, in terms of expansion. But I don't think it was about that. I think it is the fact that, like, for Miami, like, one, it's a dream job. It's a dream place for him to be. And it has all the perks of being in Oregon. Like, I don't think there's as much of a draw to be at Oregon anymore because of the way that things have shaked out in terms of money and NIL and facilities and everything that's being invested in every other program that, like, it loses its appeal. So it's going to have to be a little bit different. Like, it's going to have to be a little bit more challenging, I think, for whoever takes that job.
Oregon peaked a couple, like 5-7 years ago when it felt like you had Phil Knight money, you had Nike. Now, it's a wonderful area. I need to get back there. Also, great breweries. Yeah, no kidding. But it's also way the hell out there. I mean, it's not like recruiting in Hawaii, but it ain't that far off. when you talk about the players you're trying to compete for, which
Hawaii
is
is
California,
1,000 times better than being in Eugene, Oregon. No offense.
except you play for Todd Graham, apparently. By the way, yikes.
I would never. Him and his Britney Spears mic. Shout
yeah,
out Todd Graham. He used to coach my rival, but
just say
his Britney Spears mic.
Todd Graham, I don't think is long for that job after what I read this week. Now, I agree with you. Like, I think there's something very powerful about a coach returning to the place.
Yes.
And Mario Cristobal, when I think of Mario Cristobal in Miami, I think of like I love the Spanish. Like I don't know why that gave me chills. And then just thinking about that guy has been involved in some of the most dominant ass football of our lives, or at least of my life. I was very, I'm old. So I think it's cool. And then as for Oregon, I agree. That's a great job. He's recruited well. They may have the number 1 overall pick leaving from there. They've got some awesome players that we saw, Noah Sewell and guys like that have done.
And Justin Herbert, they've had great guys.
They've had a run, but I'm with you. Like, I think Lincoln Riley is going to change that. Now, I want to talk about Notre Dame. Yes. I can't remember the perception surrounding a school changing as much as it has in the last week. Now, Brian Kelly.
I'm like, go Irish.
Brian Kelly won big. Brian Kelly was consistent. Like, Brian Kelly, I mean, there's the other stuff with Brian Kelly. I'm not going to get into it in the pod. It's bad. When he talks, I want to listen. I want to commit to him. There are coaches that when they talk, I'm like, oh my God, yes, sir, I will play for you. Like, it comes off as genuine. This was I shouldn't say it was an odd hire. Like, Luke Fickell looked like the guy we talked about in the pod. God, we record the pod and like 12 hours later, they made the hire.
Yeah, we knew that was going to happen. We even said it.
But it comes off so real. Like, again, we talk about Cristobal in Miami, Marcus Freeman and Notre Dame, and he hasn't coached a game yet. Comes off it feels like a perfect match, and he has done nothing but say wonderful things. And I just love what I've heard so far. Like, that's part of the gig. The other thing, Paige, I'll say this. College football is evolving. And the way that Notre Dame is treating this, and the way Marcus Freeman sounds like he's treating this, is he is the number 1 recruiter, and what he's going to do is recruit, and then he's going to hire really good coaches, and they're going to coach. Now, he's going to be more involved than that. He's going to obviously play into the emotion, going to tap into the game plan, everything. But the way they've built this is they're going to put him out there to get top talent to Notre Dame, and that's his top priority. And I kind of love it. I kind of think that's a really smart way to go about in today's football.
It's wild how they turned basically one of the main things that people talk about now is like loyalty. And yes. You take a guy like Brian Kelly, who we thought was really, really loyal to Notre Dame, and it was like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. And now they've like spun it and been like, no, these, especially with like coordinators not going and things like that, it has been like, no, we are loyal to this school and this is our place. And I think players really resonate with that. The ones that are currently there, I think that's why you're not seeing like a mass exodus like you're seeing it like in Oklahoma or even LSU.
Agreed.
Like you are seeing the fact that like they handled this so well, the guys that are choosing to stay there. I mean, it's absolutely amazing and it's fun to watch. And I mean, I'm rooting for them. I'm much more likely to want a Notre Dame team in the playoff, even though they don't play a championship game, which I think is ridiculous. But I still, like, you're right. Like, things have definitely shifted in the right direction, I would say.
Well,
when it comes to that coaching hire.
Here's the reality. There's a lot of great motivators out there. There are, like, a lot of good coaches. And I'm pulling up Brian Kelly's record now. Brian Kelly's won a shit ton of football games.
Yeah, he said he's also the last 3 years he's had 10-win seasons, 3 or 5 years.
10-3, 12-1, 11-2. They were 4-8. Oh, you are or am I?
No, I am. I dropped something. We're good.
Oh, I didn't see it. Sorry, I'm using Wikipedia.
Great source.
I'm sorry.
Don't source Wikipedia in your articles, please, by the way.
To be clear.
They're like, Paige, Adam Kramer cited Wikipedia. I'm like, oh no.
So I'm sorry. So you have all right, this year 11-1, 10-2, 11-2, 12-1, and 10-3 since 2017. Like, That's pretty good.
That's really good.
So, but I love it. And again, college football is about passion. It's about emotion. It's about connection. It's cool to see coaches, and it's cool to see schools try to tap into that. The video of Mark Freeman being introduced to the players, like, I'm sorry, I will eat that shit up until the end of time. Like,
also, he has the most beautiful family I have ever seen.
He's got to be the most handsome coach in college football, by the way. That guy is incredible.
Yeah, I mean, Cliff Kingsbury is not in college football anymore, so yes.
Oh, wow. I was going to say.
That was my reigning champ for a while.
Who would be – I'm going to put you on the spot, and I'm going to kill some time. So, other handsome candidates. Brian Kelly is clearly not in your top 5. Are there any other handsome – no. Nick Saban probably has just a perennial spot in your handsome, genuine.
I was just going to say, I can pull like a Leanne Tui from The Blind Side. I find him extremely handsome.
I think next week we need to come up with our handsome coaches of college football.
Can we tap into coordinators too? Because I have a few.
Oh, wow. You're going to the coordinator rank. You've given this some thought. Yes.
All right. Do you not realize that like college football coach is like my kryptonite? Like that is just like not even.
All right. We're saving
Cliff Kingsbury was my gateway drug.
Well, that's fine. And he's not going to Oklahoma because.
No.
And we're going to do our handsome coaches next week. One, Venables is. And again, like the theme is get the band back together. You got a guy that loved Oklahoma. And so, all right. So a little history on Venables when it comes to interviewing. I've been around Clemson a lot. We've done a lot of stories on Clemson. We've done a lot of stories on Alabama. More stories, you and I, in terms of working on it than any other programs. I had always heard about Venables that interviewing, and I've heard this from a couple of people, like the interview process for whatever reason wasn't necessarily great. I had always heard also that he was very picky. Now, when he gets paid over $2 million a year to call defenses, which he's probably the best at in college football, in my opinion.
Yes.
I've interviewed with him. It was funny when I've sat down with him a couple of times. He was always supremely presentable. And this is an important conversation because, like, when you watch him coach, he needs a get-back guy. It's like somebody's bear hugging him because he looks like a maniac. And that is – I was wondering how that would impact him. Was he waiting for the right job? Or was like the right job waiting for him? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like truly, this is a perfect situation. And I think for Oklahoma, I don't know how well it's going to go. It is a football clash. It's kind of like a culture clash. Like this is not Lincoln Riley. Like that, I don't know how plainly we can say it. But I think it has a chance to really work if he gets the right system in place, right? That's everything for these guys.
So I will say that, like, he is intense. Like, I mean, Dabo has told so many stories about how, like, they'll be in meetings or whatever, and, like, he doesn't even look up from, like, what he's doing because he's so intense and so focused on his job and the task at hand. And watching his arrival and, like, him do the, like, boomer and, like, get excited like that, it was amazing. But and when you say culture clash, it sort of reminds me of when like Lane Kiffin showed up at Ole Miss, because Lane is like very like, I don't even know what the word is. He's more like direct, and the people they've had before are a little bit more evasive in terms of like discussing things and being open about things in discussions, probably for good reason. But I think when, like, he arrived, I remember, like, he came off the plane and someone was like, you got to get yourself a burner phone, and, like, was, like, handing him a kid and, like, doing all that. And it felt like a little bit of a culture clash. I think, like, Oklahoma has been so used to, like, he reminds me a little bit more of Stoops than Lincoln. Like, I would say that, like, Lincoln Riley was a little bit more, like, new age and a little bit more buttoned up. And, like, he had jokes here and there, but I think, like, Bob Stoops was a little bit more, like, jokey that way and fun and playful. And I think Venables, now that he has his own space, I think can be that. Like, I think he is, this is very strange. I do think he has, like, head coach vibes of Dabo. Like, I really do think he's been behind him for so long and waiting for his moment. I think this is his moment. And I think that fan base will very much connect with that because they're so passionate and care so much about the program and think that program is the best job in the entire world. and especially after all of this rumor stuff, I think it's a good fit. I am concerned in terms of like the type of recruiting they've had. I think the type of recruits that they will get are going to be different. I don't think
Yes.
that like a Brett Venables is going to be somebody that like recruits a Spencer Rattler. Like that's just not going to happen. So I think
No.
that sort of thing shifts a little bit, but it also depends on who he brings around him and how their, recruiting style is and things like that. I think it could be good. It's just kind of like okay, we'll see hire to me. I do think he does
that's
a better
fair.
job probably than Brian Kelly. If I had to guess in terms of like first year,
Ooh.
I think his first year is going to be a little bit more solid than Brian Kelly's first year.
You know what's funny? Dave Aranda, when he was hired at Baylor, I didn't love that hire. He turned them into a top 20 defense in, I can't even call it 2 years. Call it 1.5 years because last year was so broken. Watching him, by the way, not celebrate at all because he's so zen.
I was just going to ask.
Yes. Like,
The
it's the opposite of
strangest
what this
post-game
is.
press conference.
Oh, he's a weird dude. Like, and I mean that in the best possible way. Like, I love different. I love weird. But I don't think this is that guy, by the way. By the way, did you just power that wine down? Like, all right. Well, guess what?
Yeah, chug. We're chugging. You got it. Round 2.
No, but
I like how today, too, before we started this, we were like, guys, there's really not that much to talk about. We won't go on that long.
It's gonna be 5
we just love
hours
talking
of
about this
coaching
stuff.
talk. No, I want him. I think you're right. I think we have to see how the recruiting goes. I think the style of football, like Baylor and Oklahoma, a couple of years ago was like this 77-point total, and in 2 years, if like these guys stay, it's going to be like 44 points, and it's going to be gross and wonderful at the same time. And
Okay,
that's cool that you can reshape your identity that quick.
to your
You know what I mean?
point, yes. Ohio State just hired Oklahoma State's defensive coordinator, and like if you were
What
to
a
tell me
hire.
that a Big Ten school was hiring a Big 12 defensive coordinator to fix their defensive problem, probably
By
3
the
years
way-
ago, I would have laughed in your face. I would have laughed in your face.
That's a huge hire, by
Huge
the way.
hire.
Should have won the Broyles Award. I'm just saying. Shout out Michigan and Gaddis.
They're
I think
also
he has been
losing a
great.
lot. I will say,
Yes.
too, one of the things I just wanted to mention is that, like, literally everyone is in the portal. I know CJ is going to be around, but, like, they've lost 2 of their like, backup quarterbacks. Everybody that was, like, in the conversation. Well, I guess Ewers was not, but because he was an early enrollee. But, like, it's just a very strange transfer portal right now. Like, if it was my job to be looking in the transfer portal, and also the number one person that needs to be looking in the transfer portal, his name is Kirby Smart. And I know he's already done that and trying to find a quarterback. But, buddy, if you could just get it right, ask somebody else's opinion on quarterbacks. Because we know that his judgment on quarterbacks is not great. That would be my number one thing for Kirby to take it to the next level, would be to consult with somebody else on the quarterback position, because he clearly doesn't have it figured out. That was a random rant, by the way.
No. I got a update because I know he's going to listen to this. Jason, neighbor Jason, big Nebraska fan. Mark Whipple. Mark Whipple, who I've interviewed, by the way, left Pitt, where he coached one Mr. Pickett almost to a Heisman. Now going to Nebraska, which is a big hire. And maybe a little Miles Brennan. Maybe Spencer Rattler to Nebraska. You want to get weird? I mean, where are we going?
The rumor for Spencer was that he was going to go to ASU to like come back home, but obviously ASU's quarterback is staying. I don't know where Spencer goes.
I'm just saying. I bring up Jason most episodes because he's my Nebraska thermometer.
Yes,
I kind of love the Whipple. I kind of love the Whipple hire. I kind of think they're going to land a big quarterback. I'm telling you,
there's so many. There's so many in the transfer portal.
I think this is how it goes, though. He just if you're Nebraska and Scott Frost, Whipple, which is funny because I remember sitting in his office talking about his tight end like 5 to 6 years ago with his knee up, and he looked like he couldn't barely walk a football field. Has kind of reinvented his career as like, hey, I just coached this, maybe the top quarterback taken in the draft. Who knows? We'll see. And now Nebraska is very, very appealing, I think, personally. So the transfer portal is going to get wild. And I think, but it's going to get aggressive. It's going to be good. It's going to be bad. I'm just curious to see what happens overall when this thing settles out.
I was looking to see if Dylan Gabriel was at UCF when Scott Frost was.
That's who Jason wants, by the way. That is
okay. I was looking to see. I was literally just looking to see because when you said that, I was like, wait a minute.
I'm going to pull the text. Wow, there's been a lot of text. Now just get Dylan Gabriel and we're good.
So he was there? He was there, yes, because the 2019 year was the year that they declared national championship, right?
I actually don't think Dylan Gabriel and Mark Whipple are the best fit. I think Brennan would be I think that's a much better fit, personally. But I think if they can get any of them, it's going to be a lot better than it's been.
I don't even know if he was there, though. He's a junior. The years all blend together at this point.
Yes.
But yes, he's also in the transfer portal. I mean, there's literally so many quarterbacks in the transfer portal right now. But like I said, if you're Kirby Smart, consult somebody else.
A little tip, too, by the way, as we get into bowl season, we get into the off season. Keep your head on a swivel. Bowl lines.
Yes.
I know the pit line moved a lot today.
Yes. People think Kenny Pickett's not going to play.
Kenny Pickett, and he shouldn't play, by the way. If you want to opt out, go opt out. Coach should leave him like crazy. Get yo money. Now, but keep your head on a swivel because the off season is going to be nuts. The bowl season is going to be nuts. You're not going to know who's playing for a while. If you have underclassmen, awesome. But if Kenny Pickett doesn't play, he is going to change that line spectacularly. The fact that line moved the way it did, people usually know, right? When this stuff comes out, people know, and the line doesn't move for like just randomly. So we'll see what happens, but keep just stay up with it. It's hard because there's so much movement.
It's really hard. There's so much news and there's so many people in the transfer portal. Hold on. The transfer portal. But I will say we do actually have. Yeah. What did you say? Libertyville instead of Liberty.
Shout out Libertyville nearby.
But we do have things this weekend. So the Heisman and Army Navy are this weekend. Heisman, I think, is pretty settled. I know there's been a very big discussion about whether or not this is a quarterback award or not. It is. We talked last year, wide receiver. We get it. It's an offensive award, really. If you break down,
Will Anderson's had a crazy year, and it pains me that he's not at this a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Like he's close to the tackle for loss record in all of college football. It reminds me of Ndamukong Suh. And Hutchinson has had an insane year too. So I think Bryce Young should win because the performance against Georgia, and he's going to win by a lot.
Yeah.
Maybe by a record amount, quite honestly. But like we had two all-time defensive seasons, and only one of them is represented like in New York, and that sucks.
It does.
It sucks.
It's unfortunate, but like I think it's just the nature of the award, and we've accepted it. Like it's a bummer. It's gonna change eventually. I mean, there are enough of us in college football that love watching those defensive players play. Also, I talked to Kristen Saban-Settis, shout out Kristen, on the pod, and she was like, number 99 for Georgia is the biggest man I've ever seen. And that is just goes to tell you how big Jordan Davis is, because Kristen's dad is literally the head coach of Alabama, where we've seen behemoth of humans. And she was like, he was huge.
His neck is truly, I need to know his
a tree trunk.
Size. I mean, he is awesome.
The circumference. If they make it to the national championship, I'm going to make you ask him what the circumference of his neck is.
I'm in. I can't wait. By the way, you can make a case for him. I know they lost. You can make a case for Jordan Davis, by the way, for Heisman. I mean, that's why this award sucks. But Bryce Young, I can't bitch about Bryce Young winning. First off, I like Bryce Young, and I like his family. So I'm not going to do that. And he went against an all-time defense and just destroyed it in the most spectacular way imaginable. This award is not just about stats, it's about moments. That's the biggest moment we had in college football.
That's why they call it the Heisman moment, yes.
And the dude, and he's been great otherwise. And he's also been great, by the way, without Devonta Smith and Jalen Waddle and Jerry Jeudy and all the other. I mean, I'm not taking
Shots fired
anything
at
away
Mac
from.
Jones. No, I'm just kidding.
Well,
Who, by the
I'm
way,
just
is
saying.
fine.
Yes, I'm just saying the guy has been without a great offensive line too. Bryce Young, we get another year of Bryce Young. Oh, it's incredible. I have Army Navy thoughts though. Before we get to the Heisman, I love this Saturday. Can I break down my Saturday, what it looks like? So
Yes.
you and I are in the trenches pretty much every Saturday of the year
Every single
of the
Saturday.
college football, right? So we watch this. So people that don't realize your day starts around 8 with game day. You're kind of on, kind of off. With you, it's at 6 a.m., which is terrible. You should move to the Central or Eastern time zone, I'm just saying. And so it's a long fucking day. It goes
Yeah.
till 2 in the morning. It's long. And you do it
It
for
is.
3.5 months, and I absolutely love it. The first Saturday that we don't have to quote unquote work-ish, is a really weird feeling. I told you, like and I've said it the last couple of weeks, it actually is kind of a lonely like feeling. You do this, it becomes your routine, and then we don't have it. And it's kind of weird, but it's also nice. Army Navy, I'm going to my dad's. We drive up to Wisconsin. There's supposed to be 12 inches of snow, by the way, in the next couple of days, which is going to be fun. So
I'm so happy
now
for
while
your
we're
kids.
driving, oh yeah, they're going to go nuts. So what we do is we drink about 700 bottles of wine. We put on Army Navy, which is supposed to be played in rain. We watch, we bet, and then we watch the Heisman. And it is, Army Navy to me is, I need to go to that game first and foremost. You've never been, I'm assuming.
Next
We
year.
never talked about it.
Next
Let's
year
go.
we're going. I'm so serious.
Let's
not even.
go. I am in
It's
awe.
gonna be
We wrote
cold
about
as
rivalries.
hell, but let's go.
This year it's like it's in New York or New Jersey. It's at the Jets god awful stadium because they play god awful football there.
I can't
And
imagine being
it's
a
supposed
fan
to be
of that team.
Well, which one? My team? Yes,
Jets.
you are correct. Army Navy. No, the Jets. Yes, it's sad. Or the Giants. I guess they're both bad. But this is a game that I am always in awe of the spectacle. Like I just
Every part
love
of it.
watching it. No, I do. So I'm excited for it. The total in this game, though, Paige. This is what I really wanted to talk about. I'm going to pull it up
I have
right
a
now.
question though. I do have a question though. Are you go
Yes.
Army beat Navy or go Navy beat Army?
This year, go Navy.
Just in
It depends
general.
on the-
Not no betting things, just in general.
Oh, I can't do that. I change it year to year. That's where the money talks.
All right, I'm go Army beat Navy.
Go Army
Go Army
Navy
beat
always
Navy.
flows a little bit better. Like it just does.
That's more of just like a family ties. I have more people in the Army than I do in the Navy, so
It just
I'm
sounds
gonna go
better.
Army
But
beat Navy.
this year, I am go Navy +7. But the total
How American
in this,
of you.
Yeah. This total is 34.5. 34.5. Like
Wait,
Iowa plays, and of course, like that is the over under is 34.5. Now I know you have an affinity. Yes,
for
I know.
overs.
That's why. So 34.5. Both these teams obviously run the ball a great deal. They are going to be sitting
Army
on the
scored
football.
how many points against Wake Forest? Or Wake Forest scored like 60 points on Army, right?
All right, hold on. I'm pulling up the
Army
weather
football.
report too. I need to make sure that this is actually the game. I believe is in the Meadowlands. So let's just do a quick weather search.
Wait, I like low-key might take the over.
I don't know if that's a good call. I don't know if it's a bad call. It's not that many points. You basically need to like 10 points a quarter, which seems realistic. Hold on. I'm looking up
Army scored 56 points on Wake Forest. 56.
Yeah.
They scored 63 on Bucknell.
Thank you for bringing that up, actually, because we have something we're going to talk about in a minute that is relevant to. So Saturday, the forecast. Holy shit, 67 degrees in New York. We're all going to die. Chance of rain, 80%.
There's like a cold front in California right now, so
showers early, becoming steady rain later in the day. All right, they already don't throw the football.
Yeah, they're going to run, so it's not
a hog pile of a game, and I can't wait.
How many? You said it's what? 30 what?
34.5.
I'll take the over.
I like Navy in this game, by the way. I'm just saying. I
I will
like
take the over.
Navy,
I
and
like
I think
it's
the betting the over in this game is for sickos. That's what
it's
I'm just going to say.
actually it's actually funny that you said that I have an affinity for the over because I do. But I just posted a TikTok like literally while you were late. I was like, I'll just record a TikTok, and it's literally about me picking the over all the time.
I just
So
this is a gut check over. I mean, it really is. Oh my God! But I'm excited. So I'm going to bet Navy though. I like
60
7.
points though. To
I'm
score
just
on Wake
saying.
Forest.
Oh no. Well, all right. Let's transition to that. So we have some categories. We have some awards. We're gonna do more awards.
Yes,
But you put 3
eventually.
out there. These were all yours. The
Yes.
worst gambling loss of the year. Um, I actually have 2 Army games that I want to nominate for my worst gambling loss of the year. But you go first.
So my worst gambling loss of the year, because this is really, I should have checked my heater when I knew it. I had won like 3 times on the TCU over. 3 weeks in a row, TCU overs. I was like,
I remember
money.
this.
And then I picked them versus Kansas State, and they scored 5 points in the first half and ended up with 12 points total. And I think it was like, what was the actual spread was like 58 and a half, and it was like
Yes.
30 something total. And that was like the worst loss that I had. That, and I think I bet Clemson something terrible on them. But that TCU, that one burned me because 3 weeks in a row, you maybe should have gone, hey, that's 3 weeks in a row. Maybe take a check yourself. And I
Okay.
didn't. And I, like you said, I have the affinity for overs. So
We rode that wave though, and I jumped on that for a little bit, and it was good. I'm going to talk about Army. You brought up a good one. So the most painful loss I had of the year was actually the most angry I was Army versus Air Force. This was in November. Army was down. Excuse me, I had Air Force. So I had Air Force. They were down the whole game. They came back. Army fumbled it in overtime, recovered it in the end zone, and I lost. I also bet Army +3 against Wake Forest, and they scored 56 points and lost by 2 touchdowns. That was
and
terrible.
Wake Forest scored 71 points.
In
Also,
back-to-back weeks. Oh my
something
God.
that we have not discussed enough on this podcast is how far Liberty fell from
Yeah, they've been bad.
graces. They've been
With
bad. I just saw it because they lost Army, but I was like, they've been like bad. Like Hugh Freeze was on the brink last year. He played well. Like they did well. He was on the brink of like being in the conversation of like head coaching jobs ish. And now, like, sir, they've looked bad.
no,
And they have an
they
excellent
look
quarterback.
bad. And he got $4 million a year because everybody's getting paid. All right, best take of the year. I think I know yours. Go ahead.
Never bet against Alabama. Roll Tide, baby. It actually,
Okay.
you know that there's a video of Nick Saban on his boat and he's like, Roll Tide, baby. Like, I really just like inject that into my veins because that's how I feel about things. I don't think you actually got to experience the like roller coaster of emotions during the Alabama Georgia game.
I did through your messages of all caps or sad and then
all caps, and I
all
was like,
caps.
I don't like this vibe. Halfway through, I'm like, oh, I don't know. Excellent, but roll tide, baby. I told you, don't bet against Nick Saban. Alabama's still dominant. I was right. I wasn't just being a homer. For all of those who decided to DM me about being a homer,
It's going to sound weird, but I think Georgia is still my best take. I've been on Georgia since like May, and it's not dead. I mean, it's taken a hit, but Georgia still can win it all. And like, I still like this team. I'm not going to be stubborn. Like I told you, I think I kind of like Michigan, so I'm going to reevaluate. But I like Georgia a lot, and they've been dominant, and they lost a game, and so I'm not giving up. Now, I will tell you, worst take. I've got a couple, and since I've been talking, I've got a few more. I liked both Texas and I liked USC to be better this year. I thought DJ Uiagalelei would be good at Clemson. Those are 3 really bad takes. I mean, I thought Sark at Texas. My worst take, I think, would be I thought Sark at Texas would be good, and they sucked. That would be my worst. But I've got a few. That are
I
really,
have some
really
pretty bad takes too. I would say that my Spencer Rattler Oklahoma take was pretty bad. Now that you mentioned DJ, if we're talking about quarterbacks that we were super high on and expected big things out of. Now, do I think he goes somewhere else and we figure it out? I also tweeted this when he tweeted that he was transferring. I think now is the time to let go of QB1 and let's look at how he handled the situation that was in front of him in Oklahoma. And I thought he handled it pretty respectfully. We know his mom was battling cancer this past year, and like
it's terrible.
There's a lot of factors that you look at and go, wow, this is a matured individual. So let's hope wherever he lands next, I think he's going to be successful. Hopefully it's not in the Pac-12 conference. Just fingers crossed. But how funny would it be if he was like, yeah, I'm going to go to USC and be with Lincoln Riley? That would not happen.
Except like there's one team that you would be fine with him going to in the Pac-12 conference.
Well, the University of Arizona, but he would never.
Yes.
He's an ASU guy. Good guy. Luck. I don't know that I mean, if he came to U of A, I would shout from the rooftops. You wouldn't be able to tell me anything. But my other bad take is that I did criticize the playoff committee for putting Michigan above Michigan State, despite the head-to-head.
Well, I did that too.
My criticism there more was that they weren't using the same head-to-head deal with Oregon and Ohio State.
That's not a bad take. I'm sorry. Like I'm a Jim Harbaugh apologist.
Yeah.
And I thought Michigan was better than Michigan State, and they are clearly.
Yeah. But I said they should have been ranked above Alabama before they lost.
It was 2 goddamn weeks. They could not. Like, you can't do that, right? Like, you can't do that in the playoffs. So, by the way, you mentioned it. Bring me the goddamn computers. I don't care if the rankings are the same. I'm tired of human beings deciding this. Gary Barta, get your ass out of here. Go, like, hire an offensive coordinator. That's what I'm going to say.
I wish they would let, like, their fun analysts handle the college football playoff. I love Reese Davis, so keep Reese Davis on it. But I wish ESPN would put, like, Alyssa Lang and, like, other people who do other things, like, do that as opposed to, like, the color commentators during the week. Because I think I would appreciate their commentary. Like, give me a Mike Golick Jr. and Alyssa Lang every day of the week commenting on what's happening and the things that Gary Barta says. Also keep Reese Davis there, but get rid of everybody else.
I can't believe, by the way, in all this, you didn't bring up Iowa. And I'm really proud of you for not bringing up Iowa.
I wasn't going to mention it.
I mean, was it that bad that, like, it's not even worth taunting?
I almost bet Iowa to cover. Well. And embarrassingly, I told you, I took Alabama money line early on Saturday. I was like, we're doing it. And I had texted my brother and I was like, hey, what do you think about adding Iowa into a parlay? And he's like, Paige, it's Iowa. And I was like, good point. Thank you. Thank you for talking me off the ledge.
All right, well,
discuss it briefly. How did it go for you?
Well, let's see. I was down here. I was done writing, watching the screens right behind you. It was on the screen on the right. It was not even. It was on the main screen for a while, and then we moved it over to the right because it was so bad. And then at some point,
the pick weight game was better.
Oh, and that was on screen 3 on the left. UFC was on, betting on that, losing.
Okay.
But at some point, the Iowa game was so bad, it actually fell out of the rotation. Then Jim Harbaugh shoved it up Iowa.
Did you turn on, like, Paw Patrol on one of the other TVs?
I didn't even care. I was so numb at that point. I was just done. That was bad. That was really bad. It
wasn't. I felt like Michigan should have won by like 1,000 points, and it was like still close at halftime. And I was like, "What is going on? This is such a bad."
They basically won by 900 points at the end of it, but that's all right. Iowa, Kentucky is one of the worst bowl games imaginable. We will talk bowl games, by the way. We should probably wrap this up. This has been This is like our longest pod, and there's nothing going on other than us drinking, which is probably.
Yeah. Let us know how you guys feel about us drinking.
Yes.
To be fair.
Right. So we've got we're gonna do hopefully early next week, a little earlier in the week.
Yes, early pod. We're gonna aim for Wednesday of next week.
I have some very strong bowl season thoughts early on. I've
So
started
do I.
scouting.
I'm so excited.
We've got bowl season. We got playoffs. We got hopefully Oregon has a coach. Maybe we got lots of.
So
we
we can
have
talk about
lots of
coaching
things.
for hours.
Yes, and we've got our handsome coaches, which I have to dive into and figure out handsome coaches other than Nick Saban, who I'm sure is permanent real estate on yours. So any parting shots before we head
Which
out?
is weird because he's one of my best friend's dads. So it's mostly actually if I had to
Make it
pick,
awkward.
like, it's a little weird. I mean, I love Miss Terry, and so I respect Miss Terry all the way. That's my idol. If I could be anyone in life, it'd be Miss Terry.
It's amazing.
So
It's amazing send-off.
it really is. No parting thoughts. Just we're gonna break bowls down into a couple parts. So we'll make these a little bit more digestible for you guys. And we'll probably, because it's the holiday season, be drinking on most of these, which is exciting. So if any of the people that we have drank with on this pod want to sponsor the pod, it's totally okay if you want to.
Yeah, I've got a couple of holiday. This is the first. I mentioned celebration. I've got a couple more holiday brews that will make an appearance. I also have next week. I think I have to do my favorite holiday alcohol. Now, you know what? Maybe that's 2 weeks. We'll see. But either way, we're 2 weeks beers,
away
we've got
from
wine.
Christmas.
Yeah, we have to record that week. It's going to be spectacular. Santa hats and all that shit. Oh yes.
Oh, I will wear my Christmas sweater. I'm going to the snow next weekend. I'm going to Park City, Utah, and it's legitimately the lowest 7 degrees. Can you imagine me in 7 degrees? Just like take a moment.
No. Well, get ready for the national championship. I'm just saying.
I thought about that the other day. I was like, it's gonna be freezing. I can't wait though. It'll be fun.
No, it's gonna be fun. All right. So for Paige, I'm Adam. Hey, we appreciate you guys season long. This is our first crack at this. We finished our first regular-ish season. Cheers to you,
And we
Paige.
started this podcast like 5 days before the regular season started. So
as far as I'm concerned, it's barely
I
started.
think we did well.
We did. All right. Everybody, we will talk to you next week.
Cheers, guys.